My sister wasn't there when my parents needed her, but she made it look like she was. If you scroll through my sister Ava's Instagram, you'll see photos of her smiling beside her mom. Fresh flowers on the table. Matching aprons. Captions like Sunday mornings with the woman who raised me 2 hearts, and family is everything. What you won't see is the colostomy bag I changed every night. The bed sores I treated. The way mom forgot my name some days and screamed it on others. Ava lived 2 states away, in a condo with ocean views and a fridge full of sparkling water. She posted throwback photos from our childhood while I sat in the living room of our parents' house, listening to Dad cough himself awake every hour and wondering if the oxygen tank would last the night. Everyone thought she was a good daughter. They'd comment things like, "You're such a blessing," and "Your mom is lucky to have you." Meanwhile, I was washing sheets stained with things no one wants to describe, arguing with insurance reps, scheduling home nurse visits we couldn't afford. It started gradually, the caregiving, I mean. First, I came home to help after Dad's stroke. Just for a few weeks, I told my job. Then Mom slipped in the shower, broke her hip. Suddenly they needed more than a few weeks. They needed me. Ava visited once that year. She brought vegan muffins and wore designer boots. She stayed for 3 hours and left before dinner. Mom barely remembered she'd come. And then she posted a photo with the caption, "Recharging with family time. Grateful for these moments." That one nearly made me throw my phone. I wanted to comment something brutal. Something honest. "You were here for 3 hours and didn't even help me get her to the bathroom." But I didn't. I never did. Because our mother followed her, and I didn't want to explain the fight. For a long time, I told myself I was doing the right thing. That family means sacrifice. That Ava had a different life, and I shouldn't resent her for it. But the truth is, I did. I resented the hell out of her. I resented the way she could pop in once every few months, take a photo, and leave. I resented the way she talked about Mom like they'd always been close, when I knew she hadn't called once during the worst weeks. I resented that she got to live a life. Travel, sleep through the night, laugh without guilt, while I aged 10 years in 2. But I didn't say anything. Not until the day Mom died. She passed quietly in the early hours of a rainy Tuesday. I was there, holding her hand. I had just changed her bedding. Her breathing slowed, then stopped. No dramatic last words. No music swelling in the background. Just silence. I called Ava at 6:17 a.m. She didn't answer. She called back at noon, while I was still at the hospital, waiting for someone to tell me what to do with the body. She sounded tired. Annoyed. "Did you really have to call that early?" I didn't say anything. I just listened. She sighed. "Okay, I'll try to fly in by Thursday." I didn't respond. And that's when something snapped in me. Quietly. Cleanly. Like a thread pulled too tight for too long. That night, she posted a black and white photo of Mom smiling in a chair from 2 years ago. The caption said, "Heaven gained an angel today. You were my best friend, my role model, my everything. I'll never stop missing you." And I knew then, something had to be said. The funeral was set for Saturday. Ava didn't show up until late Friday night. She breezed in wearing sunglasses and a long black coat like she'd just walked off a film set. I opened the door and for a second, I didn't even recognize her. She looked untouched, moisturized, rested. She didn't look like someone who had lost her mother. She hugged me without asking. "Quick. Shallow." I said, "You could have come sooner." She blinked, like the idea hadn't occurred to her. Then she smiled tightly. "I had to wrap up some work. Deadlines, you know." Yeah, I knew. There had always been something more important than showing up. We sat at the kitchen table for a few minutes, drinking tea that I made while she scrolled through her phone. I asked her if she wanted to see Mom one last time. The casket was open for the morning service. She shook her head. I'd rather remember her how she was. I wanted to scream. How she was. "You mean in the filtered photos you posted from 3 visits ago? You mean the version of her that didn't scream in pain when I moved her legs? That didn't cry when she forgot her name?" But I didn't say it. Not yet. She went to bed early that night. Claimed she needed rest for tomorrow. I sat alone in the living room, surrounded by leftover medical supplies, pill organizers, receipts from a pharmacy that knew me by name. I stared at the spot where Mom's hospital bed used to be. The silence was too loud. The next morning, she showed up at the church in a designer dress with a veil. A veil. People whispered about how beautiful she looked, about how strong she was. I sat in the front row, next to an empty chair that should have held someone who earned it. The pastor asked if anyone wanted to speak. I had something written down. I had stayed up until 3 a.m. trying to find the right words. But then Ava stood up. She walked to the podium, pulled out her phone, and started reading. It was a post. A eulogy written for likes. She talked about Sunday pancakes with Mom, even though Mom hadn't made pancakes since 2016. She talked about midnight talks they used to have, which I knew was a lie because Ava hadn't lived at home past the age of 19. Then she ended with, "You'll always be my hero, Mom. I hope I make you proud every day." The church echoed with sniffles and polite applause. I sat frozen. People came up to her after, hugging her. One woman said, "Your words touched my heart." Another said, "Your bond with your mother was so beautiful." I couldn't do it anymore. Back at the house, after the service, she poured herself a glass of wine. She made a toast to Mom. And to us, for staying strong. I said, "You didn't stay strong. You stayed away." She blinked. "What?" I stood up, my voice calm but tired. "You posted your way through her death like it was content. You didn't lift a finger. You didn't make one real phone call unless you needed a new photo for your grid." She laughed, nervous. "This isn't the time," she said. I disagreed. It was the only time left. She put her glass down slowly, like she was trying to stay composed. Ava never liked scenes. Everything had to look perfect, even grief. I said, "You know what's funny? You gave a better speech today than you gave Mom in the last 3 years." Her lips tightened. I could see her calculating. Is she serious? Should I respond? How do I stay in control? I didn't wait. I kept going. "You posted her like she was your brand. Aesthetic grief. Cozy nostalgia." Meanwhile, I was wiping blood off the floor when she fell. I was holding her hand when she died. "You didn't even answer the phone until she was gone." Ava stepped back like I'd slapped her. "That's not fair," she said. "You don't know what I was dealing with." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What were you dealing with, Ava? Pilates? Sponsored skincare routines? God forbid you miss a brand deadline to visit the mother who raised us." Her voice cracked. "You think I didn't care?" "No," I said. "I think you cared about being seen caring. That's different." She went quiet. We stood in the middle of our childhood kitchen, surrounded by paper plates and sympathy cards and half-finished casseroles from neighbors. For a second, I thought she was going to cry, maybe even apologize. But she didn't. She said, "You chose to stay. That was your decision." And there it was. The sentence that snapped everything clean. You chose to stay. Like I hadn't sold my car to pay for their meds. Like I hadn't given up my job, my apartment, my sanity. Like sacrifice was a choice made from abundance, not survival. I said no. You chose to leave. That's the difference. We stared at each other like strangers. Her face flushed, mine pale. The space between us had never felt wider. She crossed her arms. "So, what do you want from me?" I opened a drawer, pulled out a small stack of receipts, medical bills, home nurse invoices, all in my name. I placed them gently on the counter between us. "Nothing. I don't want anything. I just want you to stop pretending." She looked down, then away. I said, "You don't get to mourn like we were equals. You don't get to wear matching dresses in filtered photos and call that love. You showed up for a funeral, not a life." She said nothing. Then she walked out of the room. I sat down, my legs weak from the release. I thought it would feel good to say all the things I'd buried. But it didn't. Not yet. It just felt necessary. That night, she stayed in a hotel. I found out through a tagged photo, her, at the hotel bar, captioned, "Holding space for grief. Be gentle with yourself." I didn't text her. I didn't call. I just stared at the photo, and for the first time in a long while, I felt nothing at all. No rage. No guilt. No longing to fix it. She had curated her grief. And I had survived mine. That was the difference. The house felt emptier after the funeral, like it was finally exhaling. The medical equipment had been picked up, the hospital bed dismantled. The hum of oxygen machines was gone. Even the refrigerator, once buzzing with medication labels and freezer packs, now only held silence. I cleaned for hours that Sunday. Not because it needed it, but because I didn't know what else to do. Grief has this way of turning into motion. You keep moving so you don't fall apart. Ava didn't come back to help. She messaged me once that morning, "Let me know if you need anything." I didn't respond. What was there to say? She hadn't meant it anyway. Instead, I focused on organizing Mom's things. I folded her clothes into donation bags, kept the sweater she always wore when it rained, the one with the buttons she'd never replace because she said they gave it character. I found a small tin box in her nightstand, full of tiny notes, birthday cards I'd written her, an old crayon drawing I made when I was 6 that said "Mommy is my best friend." A lump formed in my throat, but no tears came. I wondered what Ava would find in her box, if there even was one. Maybe Mom had kept something. Maybe she believed her daughter would come back for more than just a photo shoot. Monday morning, I called the lawyer. I needed to start the paperwork on the house. I was the executor, and I wanted things done quickly. The attorney was kind, patient. He said Ava hadn't reached out. Said she wasn't on the will. I already knew that, but hearing it out loud felt like confirmation. Mom had left everything to me. Ava didn't even ask about it. Not the money, not the house, not the stuff. She never even asked what Mom's last words were. There weren't any, really. Just a soft sigh. Her hand in mine. But I would have told her if she'd asked. Maybe even let her have that closure if she was capable of receiving it. But she didn't call. She just posted another photo. This one was of a beach. Sunset lighting. Captioned, "Grief is an ocean. Some days you float, some days you drown." Hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments. "You're so strong. Thinking of you. Such a beautiful tribute to your mom." I almost laughed. She hadn't even made it through a full week before the rebrand began. Now she was the grieving daughter. Soft-spoken, resilient, healing with elegance. I was still washing the mug Mom used for tea, scraping burnt soup from a pan she left on too long during one of her lucid days. Sweeping up strands of her hair from the hallway. The grief wasn't poetic. It wasn't filtered. It was messy and ugly and raw, but Ava didn't want that part. Just the version she could light correctly. Later that evening, I sent her one message. Just one. "Please stop pretending you were here." She didn't reply. But she did unfollow me. And just like that, the last thread snapped. No big blowout. No apology. Just silence, her favorite kind of confrontation. I stared at the unfollow for a moment, then set my phone down. It was done. Whatever bond we had, whatever was left, it died long before Mom did. All I had now were memories. And at least mine were real. After Ava unfollowed me, the air got quieter. Heavier, too, but also clearer. I thought I'd feel empty without her in my life, my only sister, my last connection to childhood, to those blurry, sun-drenched years of backyard games and whispered secrets before bedtime. But the truth is, I had already lost her long ago. The person I remembered wasn't the woman who ghosted our parents when they needed her. That version was gone. And the woman she'd become? I didn't miss her. People started drifting, as they do. The casserole stopped. The calls slowed down. Grief doesn't keep people around. It makes them uncomfortable. No one knows what to say after the funeral ends. Most just say nothing at all. I didn't mind. I was used to silence by then. Used to waking up early, making tea in a house that once held too much sound. Sometimes I'd sit in Mom's old chair by the window and scroll through Ava's posts, morbid curiosity, maybe. Or masochism. She was back to brand deals. Sponsored posts. Her smile flawless again. A new quote about healing every week. Not one photo of our childhood home. Not one mention of what actually happened. She was rewriting the story, the way she always did. I tried to let it go. I really did. But it gnawed at me. Not the lies themselves, but how easily people believe them. One night, I posted a photo. Not a selfie. Not a glam shot. Just a photo of Mom's worn-out medical chart. The caption said, "This is what caregiving looks like." For years of blood pressure checks, medication changes, oxygen refills, and sleepless nights. It doesn't fit in an Instagram square. But this was our reality. I didn't tag Ava. I didn't mention her. I just posted it into the void, but I knew she'd see it. And she did. 2 hours later, she texted me. Really? You had to make this public? I stared at the message. I waited a full day before replying. I kept my mouth shut for 4 years. You don't get to decide when I speak. She didn't respond. But 2 days later, she posted a quote card. Don't explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. I laughed. Of course. Another vague subtweet. Passive-aggressive wisdom, wrapped in pretty fonts. I deleted the app after that. Not because I was afraid to see what came next, but because I finally understood something. Ava was addicted to the image, not the truth. And I was addicted to hoping she'd eventually care. We were both tired. The difference was, I earned my exhaustion. She just curated hers. That week, I went through Mom and Dad's old documents. Wills, medical files, letters. In the back of a manila envelope, I found something I hadn't seen before, a handwritten note from Mom. Dated 2 years before she died. It read, "Thank you for staying. I know this isn't fair. I know I ask too much, but you never made me feel like I was a burden. I see you. Even if Ava doesn't. I do." I folded the note and cried for the first time in months. Not out of sadness, but out of release. It was proof that I hadn't imagined it. The weight, the work, the love. I had been seen. I had been enough. Even if the world bought Ava's story, Mom knew the truth. And for me, that was finally enough. I framed the note. It wasn't fancy. Just a simple wooden frame I picked up at a local thrift store. But I placed it on the mantle like it belonged in a museum. It did, in a way. A relic of something honest in a house where so much had gone unspoken. That note didn't erase the years I lost. It didn't give me back the career I put on pause, or the nights I sat awake wondering how I'd keep them both alive another day. But it reminded me that it wasn't invisible. I wasn't invisible. I started writing again. Not a blog, not a book. Just little entries, moments, fragments. The things I never said out loud. Like how hard it was to watch Dad cry when he couldn't button his own shirt. Or how Mom once whispered, "Don't leave me," in her sleep, and I didn't, not even when I wanted to run. No one ever writes about what it costs to be the reliable one. The one who stays. You just become background noise to the louder people in the room. Ava was always loud. She texted again a week later. I didn't expect her to, but part of me knew she wouldn't stay quiet forever. You don't get to gatekeep grief. Just because you were physically there doesn't mean I didn't love her. That was the line that finally broke something in me. I sat with it for a long time. I could have deleted it. I could have written a 1,000-word reply. But instead, I called her. She picked up after the second ring, surprised. "You want to talk?" I asked. She paused. I guess. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "You posted love. I lived it. That's the difference." She exhaled loudly, annoyed. "You always think you're better than me." "No," I said. "I just know what I did. I know what I gave up. And I'm done pretending it was equal." "You think I didn't feel guilty? Then why didn't you ever show it?" She was quiet. I said, "Mom knew. She knew who was there. That's all that matters to me now." She replied, flatly, "Okay." And I said something I never thought I would. "I forgive you." Not for her. Not even really for me. But because holding that bitterness was starting to feel like another unpaid job. And I was finally done giving myself away for free. She didn't say thank you. Of course she didn't. She just said, "So, are we done?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we are." We didn't block each other. We didn't scream. Just silence again, but this time not out of avoidance. This time it was earned. She kept posting. A new lifestyle pivot. Now it was healing spaces and decluttering the soul. Her captions made people feel things. She had a talent for that. For crafting meaning where there was none. I no longer checked her page. Instead, I went outside. I sat on the porch with a mug of tea, no expectations, no performances. Just me and the sky above the house that held so many endings. I started to live again. Not loudly. Not perfectly. But honestly. And that felt like the only kind of peace that mattered. Spring came in slowly that year. I hadn't noticed the change of seasons in a long time. When you're a caregiver, days blur into each other, marked only by medications, appointments, and episodes of confusion or pain. But now, the air felt lighter. The trees bloomed without asking permission. And, for the first time in years, I did too. I started taking walks every morning. Same path, same time. It became ritual. A way to remind myself the world was still turning, even without the people I loved most in it. Sometimes neighbors would stop me and say how sorry they were. One woman brought me cookies, said she'd seen Ava's post and couldn't imagine the pain. I just nodded, smiled, said thank you. No point correcting it anymore. Ava had turned grief into an aesthetic, a narrative, and in some small way, people felt comforted by that. Who was I to take it away? Let them believe what they needed to. I was done managing other people's feelings. One morning, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email. Not a DM. An actual letter with her handwriting on the envelope. It was from Ava. Inside, a single sheet of expensive paper. Minimalist. Clean. A few short paragraphs. She wrote that she was moving. Starting over in a new city. A chance to reset. She said she hoped I was okay. That she didn't hate me, even if I hated her. And at the very bottom, she wrote, "We were raised by the same people, but we weren't built the same. I'm sorry I left you to carry the hard parts. I didn't know how to stay." I read that last line twice. I didn't know how to stay. It was the first honest thing she'd said in a long time. And the closest thing to an apology I'd ever get. I folded the letter carefully, slid it into the back of the frame behind Mom's note. Not because it deserved to be beside it, but because it felt like the closing line of a book I'd finally finished. That night, I made myself dinner and played one of Mom's old records. The kind she used to hum along to while cooking, back when her body still remembered how to be itself. I danced in the kitchen, just a little, just enough to feel movement again. I had spent so long surviving someone else's story. Now I was starting to write mine. It wasn't exciting or glamorous. It wasn't sponsored by any brand. But it was mine. Quiet, real, messy. The kind of life that doesn't fit in a caption but means more because of it. I stopped checking my phone after 9 p.m. I deleted half the apps on it. I started reading again real books, the kind that don't buzz or swipe. And on Sunday, I drove to a small plant nursery and bought something green. I didn't even know the name of it. The woman said it was low maintenance. A survivor. I brought it home and set it on the windowsill beside the framed note. Every morning I watered it. Just a little. Just enough. Because some things don't need to be allowed to grow. They just need to be cared for. It's been a year. A full year since I held Mom's hand for the last time. Since Ava walked through that door in designer heels and posted a photo like it made her part of something she hadn't earned. People say grief changes you. That it softens or hardens, breaks or strengthens. I don't know which category I fall into. All I know is I'm not the same woman who answered the phone in a panic when Dad collapsed in the hallway. I'm not the woman who used to wait for her sister to show up. I'm someone else now. Someone who isn't afraid of being alone with her memories. I don't talk to Ava anymore. Not because I'm angry. Not even because I'm hurt. But because there's nothing left to build on. The foundation cracked a long time ago. You can't grow a relationship from curated apologies and birthday captions. And I don't miss pretending we were close. The world didn't stop when she left. It got quieter. And then it got better. Some days I still feel the ache. It sneaks up in small places. A scent, a song, an empty chair. But I let it come. I don't push it away. I let it pass through like a wave. I learned that from caregiving. You can't stop pain, but you can ride it. I still visit Dad's grave. I still talk to Mom when I drive long distances. I still keep their coffee mugs in the cupboard, even though they're chipped and old. Some pieces aren't meant to be replaced. They're meant to be held, even if they don't match your life anymore. A neighbor stopped by last week. She asked if I wanted to volunteer at the local care center. Said they were short-staffed. At first, I almost said no. I was done, I told myself. I'd already given more than anyone should. But then I thought about all the nights I sat by a hospital bed, wishing there was one more hand to hold, one more person who didn't need thanks or credit, just someone to be there. So I said yes. Just a few hours a week. Just enough. And it feels good. To show up, to listen, to help in small ways without losing myself in it. This time, I know how to set boundaries. This time, I know where I end and others begin. I still think about Ava from time to time. I wonder if she's still posting curated grief, or if she ever looks at the real parts of what happened. I don't check anymore. I don't scroll. I don't wonder who she's trying to be, because I know exactly who I am. I'm the daughter who stayed, the sister who survived, the woman who lived through years of silence and came out louder in the places that matter, not with words, but with presence. If Mom were here, I think she'd smile and say, "You did more than enough." And for once, I believe it. I no longer need people to see what I did. I don't need praise or recognition or applause. I have peace. And that's not something you can filter, post, or caption. You just live it. One quiet, honest day at a time.